Welcome to Sci-Fi Night. I'm your host, Sebastian Van Martinez, and this is a show where we take a look at some of the lesser-known sci-fi and horror movies out there and try to find the right expectations needed to get the most out of them. In this episode, we're taking a look at a British sci-fi film that has both style and substance. The Machine is a 2013 film that's about a near future where the West has entered a Cold War with China that's looking to heat up soon. The arms race is centered around artificial intelligence, and we follow our British scientists working on creating sentient artificial intelligence that can feel and think like a human to be able to blend in with and infiltrate humans. The government's methods are pretty questionable, and the head scientist, Vincent, played by Toby Stephens, has some hidden motives of his own as well. Vincent comes into contact with a young student played by Katie Lotz, whose artificial intelligence builds emotions based on memories and experiences.
Red. Describe love in 3 words.
Home, happiness, reproduction.
Green.
Happiness, sadness, life.
Green. Mary saw a puppy in a window. She wanted it. What did Mary want?
The window.
Why?
Windows look out onto the world. They are pretty and help you feel less alone.
Their work together is a success, but they end up creating something much more than just a robot.
Thank you.
For what?
You're being gentle.
If I wasn't gentle, you would break. I don't want to hurt you, Vincent.
This film is a breath of fresh air as of late. It's a unique and wonderfully looking film that really just oozes atmosphere. The soundtrack is ambient and reminds me of a cross between Tron Legacy and Drive, but slower and matching the tone of the film just perfectly. The performances turned in by Stephens and Lotz are great, and the film manages to be emotionally touching, but also asks some very interesting and heavy questions about what constitutes life.
How do I know that you're alive and not just a clever imitation?
How do you know if Thompson is alive? Or your daughter? What makes my clever imitation of life any different from theirs?
They're human. They are alive.
But how do you know that? You can't see their thoughts.
It still does this without beating you over the head with philosophy. It presents it eloquently and most of the times very artistically as well. So even though this is a slower and more cerebral sci-fi film, it still manages to have quite a bit of action, and at times it's presented in some pretty graphic and bloody ways. On a whole, the film looks wonderful and it's very well directed. Some of the pacing is a bit slower than most of the sci-fi films from the past years, but that hardly means you're going to be bored because of the smart dialogue, gorgeous visuals, and great soundtrack that keeps you interested during the less action-packed parts. So, in all fairness, this movie doesn't really explain everything, but at the same time, it's not really supposed to, because really, you're supposed to think about it yourself. Yeah, it's one of those movies. There are probably some parts that might irritate some viewers who want a more conventionally told or presented story, but overall, I'd say this is a hidden sci-fi gem of 2013 that really should be seen.
What makes you angry?
I've never been angry.
Let's make it angry.
It's definitely different than your average Hollywood sci-fi, but in my opinion, that's a very good thing. This doesn't really have the biggest budget, but they disguise that fact brilliantly through smart and well-executed techniques. So, what should you expect from this movie? Great atmosphere. From the cinematography, to the editing, to the soundtrack, the film draws you into its world, and it feels very, very real. There's quite a bit of CGI in this film, but it's used in smart and subtle ways, so you don't really notice it all the time. The film did a great job of creating a living and breathing world that both interests and entertains.
Are you trying to smile?
I am smiling.
Right, we'll have to work on that.
Style and substance. This film has both a visual polish and a well-thought-provoking dialogue that makes a good movie great.
You really are unique, aren't you? We're just fumbling around in the dark here trying to figure out what we've made, aren't we?
Sure, there are some very minor problems with the script, but overall this movie shines in almost every way. So much so that the occasional brutal violence doesn't overshadow the story. Something different. So this is a more toned down film in terms of action, but in sci-fi themes and interesting content, this is a blockbuster.
We already have plenty of machines that can kill, but imagine a machine that can protect civilian populations, that can keep war zones secure and safe without endangering our troops.
Like I said, there are still action scenes, some quite violent ones as well, but that's not what this film is about, and it's not what you'll be focusing on either. You'll be too caught up in the story. So this is a very pleasant surprise for me. Basically, it's kind of a hidden gem that I'm really glad I stumbled across. It's very interesting, it looks great, and it managed to be both adorable and brutal. Like I said, it's a very nice looking film with quality when it comes to both content and aesthetics. However, you should definitely be in the mood for a slower film, and a bunch of drunk friends probably won't make the experience any better. Enjoy this film like a fine wine, not a keg of beer. So that does it for this episode of Sci-Fi Night. We hope you enjoyed it. Have you guys seen this underrated sci-fi gem? If so, please let us know in the comments, and while you're down there, you might as well click the like and subscribe button to help the show and stay updated with it. I'm your host, Sebastian Mel Martinez, and we'll catch you guys next week.
You make weapons for the government.
No, I make intelligent machines.